Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to share with you several articles that I've found that are recent articles that pretty much show us what the storm is going to look like when it finally hits. I'm not talking about the Ukraine and Russian war or anything like that. I'm talking about things that are going to affect your everyday life, your standard of living. And for those of you that are interested, towards the end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and answer a question that someone asked me during one of my live streams. And that was, would you buy gold and silver now, or would you wait for the crash? And I'm going to go ahead and answer that question to you, and I'm going to show you why it is that I'm going to be doing what I'm going to be doing. But first, let's get into this. Ukraine bans wheat and grain exports, vital to global food supply, citing that its citizens are under siege. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about this before. What is going to happen when countries that are part of the global ecosystem when it comes to exporting foods that other countries and nations are used to receiving in order to feed their people? What is going to happen to those countries that cannot receive those foods anymore? Ukraine, being known as the breadbasket of Europe, being its long among the world's top 10 wheat exporters and supplied over $6 billion in agricultural products to the European nation in 2020, has issued an emergency order on Wednesday, banning the export of grains and other products. The ban includes the export of wheat, oats, millet, buckwheat, sugar, live cattle, meat, and other products considered vital to the global economy. So now what are these countries going to do, ladies and gentlemen? And we here in the United States, we here think that because, if you look down here, that because we produce a pretty big majority of the world's wheat, that we're going to be okay. But I go back to the question that I asked before. There is a fertilizer shortage in the world, and fertilizer has gone up in price exponentially, really. What are we going to do if we cannot produce enough fertilizer to grow the food that we normally grow, and we cannot import it? We all know that Russia produces a lot of the world's fertilizer, and they're not exporting any. At least they put a ban on it temporarily. Not sure how long that will go on. I'm sure that with all the sanctions that the US and the EU has put on Russia, they're more than happy to keep their fertilizer and their wheat as well. Talking about cooking oil again, ladies and gentlemen, this doesn't seem like a big deal during normal times, meaning when times are plenty. But when these things start running out, it is a big deal. For example, imagine if you woke up in the morning and when you went to the bathroom and clicked on that light, that it didn't turn on and it stopped turning on. And then maybe you were lucky enough after a week or two to get 1 or 2 hours of electricity a day. Well, Lebanon has been living like that now for probably over a year or two. Imagine if that was you. Same thing with these shortages that's going on now that are affecting those nations that really rely on these things because it's part of their staple. A lot of these nations that are going without because of these shortages, they rely on this oil because it's part of their caloric intake. And ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. Indonesia is going to stop exporting as much cooking oil as they normally do. Why? Because people are panic hoarding. They're panic buying. Is it really hoarding? I don't think it is hoarding, because if you know you're going to use it and you can buy it now, you better buy it now, because it may not be available tomorrow. And that's what these people here are realizing. I better buy this now, because look at what's going on in the world. Look at how much prices are going up. Am I going to be able to afford this tomorrow or even get it tomorrow? They say that a sign of rising protectionism around the world as countries deal with record high food prices, according to Bloomberg. And now, this is the same thing that we just went over with the wheat ban. Russia banned wheat exports. Ukraine's banning wheat plus all of those other commodity exports. What other countries are going to start banning things that the rest of the world relies on in order to feed their people? It's going to be chaos, ladies and gentlemen. So stock up on those things that you need today. U.S. consumer prices are rising at their fastest pace in over 40 years. If this in itself does not convince you to go out there and prep up now, if you're trying to wait for the dip, you're going to be waiting a long time. That may work in the stock market, but I don't think it's going to work in the world of the price of foods, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody here tell me what has really gone down considerably and stayed down? You know, you may look at a commodity. Let's just say oil, for example. It may go up double what it normally was, right? And a lot of oils have. It may go up double. It may come back down from its high. But the level where it stays at after it comes back down is still considerably higher than what it was before it started going back up. So what do you have to lose? You know, what do you have to lose if you have a full pantry? And they say here, ladies and gentlemen, that with this administration already setting the narrative yesterday that today's inflation is going to be high. It's going to be higher than what it was in January, I think it was, 7.8%. That the print of 7.9%, so inflation came in year over year, 7.9%. The bar was set high for any surprises, and the headline print came in right at the dot, 7.9% year over year, the highest inflation since 1982. Highest in 40 years, ladies and gentlemen. The question is, do you think it's going to get better? If that is what you think, go ahead and short the commodities market, meaning go ahead and short the food market. Don't stock up and see if it's going to get better, and then buy the dip on food. Me, I rather dollar cost average to make sure that I have what I need. And that's not just with food, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be with everything. Everything that you rely on an everyday basis is going to go up considerably. And it's getting worse as the days go on. I don't know how many of these videos I've done, you know, warning people, hey, it's going to continue to go up. And maybe people are getting confused because I've done so many of these videos, but every one that I do, every new video that I do like this one, is because it's going to get worse than what I stated in the last video. This, ladies and gentlemen, with all of these things coming together, it's going to get considerably worse. I'm going to make a prediction, but I hope that I'm 100% wrong. This is going to be a pretty difficult summer as far as prices for food and the commodities that we need to live. I think that by the time this summer comes around, I think we'll probably be in recession, right? And although I think we've been in a recession for the last couple of years, officially we'll probably be in a recession. Why is that? Because for many of you that may not know, the Federal Reserve stopped buying assets. So their balance sheet is now stable, meaning that it's not going up anymore. They stopped buying stuff. That's going to put a lot of pressure, not only on the equities markets, but also on everything else. So we'll just have to see what happens. High gas prices and recession. Look at that here. They're talking about recession. While higher gas prices may be a welcome news to the oil industry, the rest of the U.S. households should be concerned, as it is a glaring recession warning. Over the last 40 years, high gas prices have been linked to economic stagflation and recession. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is just history. All you have to do is look it up. All right. High gas prices increase the overhead for businesses. A lot of businesses cannot continue to do business with the high gas prices. If you know a trucker, ask a trucker how these high gas prices and diesel prices have been affecting their business. It's almost like the high fertilizer prices that some farmers just cannot afford to plant a crop this year because they cannot afford the fertilizer. They will not make a profit. And if they know they're not going to make a profit, then why even bother, giving up their labor for a loss? So they're just not going to plant. Same thing with truck drivers. If they know they're not going to make a profit, if they're in a contract and these gas prices or fuel prices are going so high that they know they're not going to make a profit, then why even bother working? And here's another one on recession. A recession unlike any other. And I would have to agree just with the title. By the way, for those of you that are wondering, oh, AP, why you just look at Zero Hedge? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do that because it's easy. All right. Zero Hedge usually extracts articles from other authors that had given them permission to go ahead and print their article. Like, for example, this one right here, this article is by Michael Pinto, and he is an economist, and he is a really good guy, by the way, and very smart guy, very smart economist. So that's why I go to Zero Hedge, because it's just very easy to get articles from different sources that are just in one centralized area. But here it says the U.S. economy is already deteriorating due to the humongous fiscal and monetary cliffs. The cliffs are now being compounded by the war in Eastern Europe and near record high inflation. And the Fed's put is much lower and smaller in size than Wall Street believes. And not too many people are talking about this. America's other emerging energy crisis. The warning signs are everywhere. We are stumbling toward an energy crisis that is likely to be far more severe and long-lasting than the upheavals of 1970s. And no, it's not because of Russia and Ukraine. This is about the perilous state of the U.S. electric grid. We've talked about this before. I've actually talked about this before, saying how is it that we in the United States can shift over to an all-electric vehicle, economy, or an all-electric vehicle country. We can't do that. Our grid can barely handle what we give it now at the worst of times, meaning that when a lot of people in that region need electricity at the same time, the grid can barely handle it. Take a look at Texas. What happened a couple of years ago with their grid when they had that ice storm, meaning that everyone was pulling from it at the same time. All right, take a look at California. Now imagine if we go to an all-electric vehicle economy or country, right? Do you think that our grid is going to be able to handle that? But that's where they're pushing us toward. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge problem that not many people are talking about. Our elected leaders or representatives, whatever you may want to call them, I don't think they're representatives or leaders, they've known about this problem for decades. Nothing's been done. Do you think something's going to be done now? I doubt it. Right? I doubt it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the link to each one of these articles down in a pinned comment. That way you can come and revisit them if you like. I thought I'd take a little bit of a different turn this time. Instead of just going through one full article, that I show you a few that I was interested in, and that I let you go and take a look at them. Now, the Alaska Prepper News channel, I did put up an article there early today. It has to do with Ukraine and Russia. If you'd like to go visit that channel and check it out, that's more of a read-along than a commentary, as I'm doing now. So you can go check that out. But these are things that we need to be watching out for. These are the things, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to cause pain, not only in the U.S. economy, but throughout the world. We are an intertwined world when it comes to the economy and when it comes to food, unfortunately. I think it's better if we are more decentralized when it comes to everything, meaning that each nation provide for itself the things that it needs, and then they can export the excess of those things that they specialize on, and then import those things from other countries that have excesses of things they specialize on. Let me just give you an example. We export a lot of wheat. Okay, we specialize in wheat. That's great. Colombia, and I believe Brazil also, they export a lot of coffee. Why? They specialize in coffee. So since we here in the United States, we don't really grow coffee or any significant amount, that's one of those things that we import because we don't grow a lot of it. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm going on a rant here and I shouldn't. I just look at the world and I see what chaos the world is in. And I look at the future and I'm like, what is the probability that all of these problems come together to affect us in a much bigger way than if only one of these problems were the main issue? And it seems that all of these problems, all of these things that I've covered here today, they're all main issues. They're all intertwining into one big ball that's going to roll down the hill and it's going to run over everything. But the question is, are you ready for this? Because this is coming whether you want it or not, ladies and gentlemen. All of these problems, they are manifesting themselves in a way that we can see it with our eyes on a daily basis. Now let me go ahead and show you what it is that I'm going to do with gold and silver, as I believe that a recession, at least on paper, will be coming, okay? To answer that question in a better way than I answered before, being that I dollar cost average in. Alright, so I went ahead and compressed this chart down to the monthly. And as you can see here, I brought it all the way back to 2008. Alright, we all know 2008, what happened? It was the start of the Great Recession, right? Of the 2008 Great Recession is, I think, what they call it. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that towards the lead up of a recession, you can see that we have a pump in price. Why? Because it's the lead up toward a recession. People are not panicking yet. And then once we hit a recession, usually the price dumps. So someone asked me, should I wait until there is a dump in the market before I buy more gold and silver? And my answer was, I like to dollar cost average, because who's to know that at this point right here, down here, who's to know how much gold and silver there was available, number one, and who's to know what the premium will be, number two. right? So as you can see here, that at the height of the market back in 2008, we had a price of $975 roughly. And then here, within the same year, October of that year, we had a price that was 26% lower, price of $715. So that was roughly 26% lower than the top. And then what happens is, at least now, starting in 2008 is when we started doing this practice of quantitative easing. Once the Federal Reserve sees that there's nothing they could do except for the best thing that they're at, but the best thing that they're good at, right, is to print money, they start printing money, right? And then look at what happens. Things just start going up. Gold went to what, $1,995, something like that, back in August of 2011. So what am I going to do with gold? I buy very little gold, but I still like to have a little bit. I am going to go ahead and hold off on buying any gold at all until after the market bottoms. I know that gold right now is doing pretty good. Right now it's at $1,995. It looks like it's stabilizing there, and it reached a high. It reached an all-time high, I believe, of about $2,076 or so. So it looks like it's stabilizing around the $2,000 mark. But I personally believe that as soon as we go into a recession, it may not be the same day that they say, oh, we're in recession, but that when we go into a recession, I believe it's going to take a hit. Why is that? The reason is, in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, all right, for the internet, here you go. I'm not a financial advisor, okay, internet, all right, so do your own research. In my opinion, when we go into a recession, companies don't do very well economically, all right, or financially, and they lose a lot of market cap, a lot of their actual nominally claimed value. So what do they have to do? Not only companies, but traders, or hedge funds. They have to sell the one asset in the world that is the most liquid asset there is. The most liquid asset in the world is gold, ladies and gentlemen. Right? It's the most liquid asset in the world. You can take it to any country and you can find a shop that will buy that gold for you for that local currency, and then you can take that local currency and spend it on whatever it is that you want. So what do they do when they have stocks or shares of stocks that they bought, on leverage? Well, they have to come up with a certain number of dollars to be able to cover their leverage position. So what do? They sell the most liquid asset there is. They sell their gold to get cash to go ahead and pay the money that they've lost. All right, so that's why I think that gold and silver come down as soon as the stock market starts doing really bad. It's because of that. It's because there's people who are trying to pay their bills and they only have gold and silver to do it with. All right. Yes, I understand there's manipulation in the market, but whenever there's a recession, you'll usually see gold and silver go down as the stock market goes down as well. All right. I think that's the same thing that will happen this time. I think that we're at this high here. I think that we're going to go higher than this. We may have a dip here or there, but you can see, look, all the way from here, there was highs, dips, highs, dips, highs, dips. So I think this is definitely going to go higher. And just to give you a little bit of, just to have a little bit of fun, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. For those of you that don't know anything about technical analysis, all right, in technical analysis, one of the most bullish, all right, one of the most bullish formations there is the cup and handle, right? The cup and handle formation. And if you take a look, this is a multi-year or a decadal cup and handle formation. What do I mean by cup and handle? Let me see if I can draw this. If you start up here at the high, all right, the last high of this cycle, you go down and you go like this, ooh, you're forming a cup. You're forming a cup, and then you get to the top of that cup, and then you form a handle. And then usually what will happen is you go to build all-time highs. You go to build all-time highs, and usually the way it's measured, at least the way that I think it's measured, okay? I don't want to give you any false pretenses. I'm just an amateur on this, right? It's like this right here. So usually the way that it's measured, the next high, you're looking at this. That's usually the way that it's measured. So you're looking at a price at about $2,700 or so on gold for the beginning of this new gold bull market. Because I believe commodities in general, but gold and silver will also achieve a new bull market. So what am I going to do with gold? With a little bit of gold that I do buy, I'm going to wait until it does dip. I'm hoping it dips about 20%, right? 20-25%. I'm hoping it goes down all the way to like 1,500. If it goes down to 1,500, I'll probably buy me a full ounce, if not two. Right, but that's what I'm waiting for. Could I be wrong? I could be 100% wrong. All right, so do your research. Silver now is different for me. Okay, for me, silver is different. Now, it's the same story with silver. If you take a look at 2008 during the high, we were at almost $20, and then as soon as we entered into that recession, we dropped 51% all the way down to about $10 or just shy of $10. All right, so it's pretty much the same story as gold as far as the action. However, ladies and gentlemen, with silver, I always dollar cost average. However, how much will I dollar cost average? What I think I'm going to do with silver is I'm still going to dollar cost average. Usually the first week of every month, I go and make a small purchase because that's when I get my retirement paycheck. All right, so I'll still dollar cost average, but I think I'm going to be dollar cost averaging in maybe 40 to 50% of what I normally do. Right, so maybe 40 to 50%. Then I'm going to keep that other 60 to 50% that I have left over in cash, and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it that way I can have some dry powder. That's what dry powder is called. All right, when you have a little extra cash on the side, that you can go ahead and use it to purchase something that you believe is going to increase in value. So I can have some dry powder. The reason why I will continue to dollar cost average is because if silver goes down dramatically, how many people are going to go out there and panic buy silver? A lot of people are going to go out there and just swipe that silver right off the shelves. You're going to see SD Bullion, you're going to see JM Bullion, you're going to see AppMex. All these online stores say we're sold out, we're sold out, we're sold out. Or you're going to have a 6-week, 8-week delay before you get your silver. So that's what I believe would happen. So the reason why I continue to dollar cost average is because what is the probability of there being enough silver for you to be able to purchase when it's at its lowest, all right? And what premium will be getting charged on that silver. You may be paying a premium of 100%. Who knows? And what I mean by that is that although down here at the low, the spot price was $10, people at that time were probably paying $18, $19 for silver, for an ounce of silver, even though the spot price was only $10. Why? Because supply and demand comes into play, ladies and gentlemen, right? Just like anything else. The premium is what gives precious metals mobility, meaning that if it's not worth moving it for the amount that you're charging for a premium, then you have to charge higher, right? And if the supply and demand becomes so great, they're going to charge a higher premium. Going back to the sneakers. If I have 1,000 people that want to buy my sneakers and I only have 100 sneakers to sell, I'm probably going to charge a little bit more for those sneakers. That way the people that really want them can get them and an equilibrium is found in the marketplace. Same thing with silver. So that is what I'm doing with silver and gold. I actually hope that both metals take a really good dump. You know why, ladies and gentlemen? Because I know what they are. All right. For example, let's say that you went to the supermarket and you saw that a 50-pound bag of flour was selling for $2. Would you only buy one? No, you would buy several. Why is that? Because you know what it is. You know that it's flour. You know that you're going to use it. You know that it's good. Right? So you're going to buy several bags of flour if it went down by 90% in price because you know what it is. Same thing with gold and silver. I know what they are. They're real money and they are a good way to preserve your purchasing power. All right? Over time, not in the short term. I mean, take a look at this. Silver is very volatile. If you take a look at this, it goes up and down and up and down. Same thing with gold. But over time, okay, let me show you over time, ladies and gentlemen. Over time, we have an uptrend. All right, so over time, we have an uptrend. So over time, silver and gold are good wealth preservation tools, in my opinion. Let's take a look at gold real quick. Look at gold. Over time, ladies and gentlemen. Over time, it's an uptrend. Why? Because it's real money. That's why. All right. Having said that, I hope you have a good day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper. I am out. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a little bonus clip. So for those of you that are still here, you may be asking, well, why is it that around here, before this date right here, All right, before this date and back, there was really no action in gold and silver. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the date. December 1st of 1970. Remember what happened in 1971, August 15th? Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard. All right, on this date, December 1970, gold was being used as money. Right? It was being used as money because it was directly connected to the U.S. Federal Reserve note. So we were directly correlated with gold as far as the U.S. Federal Reserve note goes. So there wasn't a lot of inflation during these times. There wasn't that much inflation. Why? Because gold was being used as money during these times. That's why there's such little action. But as you can see here, in 1971 or so, where's 1971? Right here, okay? Around 1971 or just after 1971, as you can see, the price of gold started shooting up, and it has continued to go up. Why is that? Well, because there's more fiat currency dollar units in the market, so the more units that there are in the market, the higher that everything else is going to get. And that is why the price of gold has continually gone up over the years. Now, like I said before, there is manipulation. Of course, we all know about it, or most people know about it. However, nature will eventually resolve all of the manipulation. The market will eventually find an equilibrium and a fair market value. Eventually it will. When? Don't know. But that is why I hold gold and silver, because I don't know. And I'd rather be prepared now than to not be prepared at all, because I'm waiting for the balloon to pop in order to go out there and prep. Same thing with food and everything else, not just with gold and silver. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day.
Nutrient Survival isn't just survival food. It's special ops grade. Built to the nutritional standards of the U.S. Special Ops and packed with 40 essential nutrients. Formulated to sustain energy, sharpen focus, and keep you and your family thriving during any emergency. Real food, real ingredients. Oh, and a 25-year shelf life. Our meals will kick your taste buds in the mouth and have them coming back for dessert. Yeah, we've got that too. So whether you're digging in or bugging out, you don't just survive an emergency situation, you thrive in it. Nutrient Survival. Feed your freedom.